everyone, welcome to another Underrated Film Saturday, and today I thought it would be interesting to briefly address another animated film that I think pretty much stands up to the same amount, I guess, of underratedness um, uh, to the other animated films that I've sort of discussed in the past, including The Iron Giant and Rescuers Down Under. Um, Also with other films like The Great Mouse Detective. So it's, I think, up there when it comes to animated films that are sort of overlooked. And that is the Lego Movie, as you can see by the title. Um, the reasoning, I think, behind this film being underrated is first and foremost that it's not produced by a big animated studio company. So as a result, there's not a huge amount of, advertisement or name to it. So that's, I think, what made this film sort of overlooked. Um, also, its philosophy or what it's trying to present is a lot different than what a lot of other animated films do. But I'll sort of address this as I'm sort of going through with you the plot and everything. But I think that could have also played a role. But I think that sort of remains to be seen. But I'm more than happy to hear anybody's thoughts on that. But basically, the Lego Movie is about Legos. Um, and Emmett is the main character, or the main Lego man in this movie, and he ends up going on an adventure in order to defeat the Lord Business. And you'll sort of see how this whole plot plays out, and as to how everything is presented, if you choose to watch the film, because again, I don't really want to give too much away. Because there is a lot of things that sort of happen within this film that initially start out one way, but then it completely turns itself to another end because we see how the sort of Lego world is set up within this film. So again, I don't really want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, so I'm just going to be plain and simple and to the point and just say it's basically about the main character ultimately going up against the antagonist. And you'll sort of see how that plays out if you choose to watch the film. Now, I think the story, this movie in particular, has some great writing and storytelling. I think it has good characters, and I think the message is a very good message. In particular, I think a good message for children, considering the fact that children are basically the next generation. And now, the messaging that this film, I think, tries to present is fairly libertarian. It's designed to be a fairly it's designed to be within that message to its audience. It tries to approach that philosophy sort of head on. I mean, it might be hard for, I think, children to really understand, but I think adults will kind of understand the kinds of libertarian messaging that the film tries to send. And I think it's very interesting, regardless of whether or not you agree with the libertarian sort of philosophy. I think there's a lot that this film has to offer when it comes to sort of presenting the sort of benefits that the philosophy has. And it's also a very social and political animated film. Even though we don't really like to think of it as a film that's presenting these issues, it kind of is. Because the world that the film tries to set up with is one of very political and social. Um, it's trying to build in onto the social and political commentary of what's going on in the Western world, at least now, I believe. And does it in a kid environment, and because kids like Legos. So I think that's very interesting, and is something that really plays into the story. And um, a lot of the time, um, I think these social and political commentaries are things that really do showcase what's going on in our world today, and I think this film did a really good job of putting it in the mind and sort of perspective, um, to children, as opposed to doing it in a more adult film in an adult setting. So that's, I think, something that makes the film really unique. So what else I can say about this film is that, again, like I mentioned, the libertarian philosophy that sort of is presented in the film, might be something that not sure if it's something that deterred audiences, um, or was something that's not considered as, I guess, mainstream. And I think that's probably why this film got overlooked. I think partially it had to do with the message that it was trying to send. It was trying to bring out these alternative ideas that I think mainstream filmmaking is not really designed to really address. And I think this really shows, because it's not it doesn't break it down sort of into politics of right wing and left wing, but rather um, displays things in a setting that shows you um, the negative impacts of not um, trying to uh, present society with some aspects of libertarian philosophy. At least that's what the film goes for, because in case you don't really know what the libertarian philosophy is, it's a lot about individualism, and more about freedom and not having society be controlled. And you'll see how the antagonist, Lord Business, sort of does this. And I think that's really what it was trying to hone in on, this aspect of control, um, that leads to people not being able to think for themselves. And that's, I think, something that's really important to demonstrate to our society. Um, and regardless of whether or not you agree or disagree with certain aspects of the libertarian philosophy, I still feel like there's some things that are interesting and that people can um, uh, get behind. So I think that's largely part into why it became overlooked, but I think it's also something that makes the film really unique and very interesting compared to a lot of other animated films that we've seen over the years. So it's definitely one that has that element in there, and it's designed to, as a part of the messaging within the film, it's designed to not only be about individualism, but how you can contribute to society, as opposed to, working for society, like, you do what you feel like you can contribute, as opposed to the idea of, oh, I have to do, oh, somebody tell me what I have to do. Um, and it's trying to really enforce those ideas of how we've been controlled, and manipulated by our sort of system. And it's really interesting, and I think definitely one um, that is really unique compared to a lot of other um, ideas that other animated films have tried to explore over the years. So it's one that I think is getting a little bit more popular, but I still feel like it is overlooked. I don't think that there's a whole lot of hype surrounding this film, actually. Um, Even though when I think it initially came out, it at least had a little bit of advertising, but now I don't think it's a film that anybody really talks about anymore. So I think but I think the reasoning behind it not being so much talked about is again the philosophy that it's trying to give its audience is not necessarily as mainstream or as maybe accepted by the media and the entertainment industry. And I think also partially because again it's not made by a major studio. So I think that those are really the ultimate reasons behind this film being overlooked. But I think it's definitely worth a watch if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you like sort of political commentary, I think this film provides a good amount of it. And it's, I think, very brilliant to set it up in a kid's world and a kid's setting. Yeah, I think that's ultimately, though, all I can really say about it without really giving too much away. And I'm more than happy to hear anybody's ideas, thoughts, concerns, and whatnot. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day, week, month, and year.